Hi, everyone. My name is Desiree Vega. I'm a faculty member in the school psychology program at the University of Arizona. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to introduce my doctoral advisee, Marie Tanaka, as the recipient of the APA Division 16 Anti-Racism Award. Marie has been involved with numerous national and international leadership efforts, including her previous roles as the Diversity Affairs Chair for staff and Student Membership Co-Chair for ISPA. Currently, she serves as Student Ambassador for ISPA, Equity Coordinator for the Graduate Student Committee of NAS, President of SAS, and the Student Representative on the Futures Conference Committee. Her leadership experiences align with the award's vision of scholars engaged in training activities that benefit and support minoritized communities. I'll share a little bit of what Marie's recommenders wrote. Dr. Linda Rafael Mendez wrote, Marie is so passionate about social justice, and that passion really came through in the discussions we had each week. She led the Social Justice Book Club group without dominating and provided space for each member of the group to carve out their own learning activities. Marie's leadership within this group was quite notable to me, perhaps more so than any other student in my 22 years at USF. I looked to Marie for what I could learn from her. Dr. Gina Yoon shared, her treatment approaches reflect evidence-based and culturally responsive practices. Marie does an amazing job building and maintaining relationships with clients and their families, as well as with other professionals. Dr. Matt Matera wrote, overall, Marie is truly phenomenal in all aspects of her work and scholarship. She is a gifted and caring educator who works from a place of love and passion for justice. Marie's giving nature and willingness to fight for the rights of communities that are oppressed and erased in our health and education systems makes her an ideal candidate for your award. I will close by saying, Marie engages in this important anti-racism work because she cares so deeply, all the while balancing her responsibilities as a doctoral student, which is not an easy feat. I look forward to watching her continue to shape the profession's commitment and action in anti-racist scholarship, service, and practice. Congratulations, Marie. We are very proud of you.
Thank you, APA Division 16, for this inaugural award for the commitment to anti-racism in school psychology. I especially really want to thank my wonderful advisor, Dr. Desiree Vega. She thoughtfully and generously organized my nomination application with Dr. Gina Yoon, Dr. Linda Rafael Mendez, and Dr. Matera. Dr. Vega, I cannot thank you enough for all you have done and continue to do for me as a role model and advisor. And Dr. Vega's nomination is reflective of the collectivity that's really needed in the work to dismantle and combat oppression. This work can't be done in isolation. If it weren't for professors such as Dr. Vega, Dr. Rafael Mendez, and Dr. Song, for example, I probably would have quit school psychology entirely. I'm just really grateful for these professors, along with my time on D16 SAS board, that have allowed me to make lifelong connections. I especially want to thank other students such as Raul Palacios, who has time and again not only been there, but done so in the most human and genuine of ways. My cohort of Adriana Crossing, Du Trong, Miranda Zan, and Stephanie Campbell have been relentlessly responsive and supportive, walking the walk of what it really means to be both kind and critical. We uplift and celebrate one another as we collectively challenge colonialist and imperialist thinking. This is just what we do as a group, and I am so grateful I've been able to find them. Finally, my family has been a constant source of inspiration that has both paved the road and modeled this authenticity, this authentic walk in so many ways. This award is bittersweet, as my goal in this work is to uplift others, and in order to make and create the change that is meaningful. I sincerely hope that we as a field can continue to uplift one another in these much needed spaces to combat oppression in all of its forms, both insidious and outright outrageous. I'm sincerely grateful for this award, as I have others alongside me to not only talk the important talk, but truly and genuinely walk the walk. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Lauren Kaiser, Program Coordinator and Assistant Professor in the School Psychology Graduate Program at the Millersville University in Pennsylvania. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Nicole Holland Sims as the 2021 winner of the APA Division 16 Emerging Professional Award for Outstanding Commitment to Anti-Racism in School Psychology. I've had the good fortune of meeting Dr. Holland Sims because she's an alumni of the Millersville University School Psychology Specialist Program. Soon after meeting her, her remarkable contributions to our field were evident. Dr. Holland Sims is an APA Division 16 rising star who has contributed greatly to the advancement of anti-racism practice, service, and scholarship in our field of school psychology. After graduating Millersville and becoming a practitioner, Dr. Holland Sims has worked for close to a decade as a school psychologist and a district level external PBIS coach in the Harrisburg and Susquehanna Township school districts, while working towards her doctoral degree in school psychology at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Through her work in the schools as a champion for school climate reform, culturally responsive practice, and positive behavior supports, she emerged as a district and state leader. In the wake of racial hate incidents that garnered national media attention following the 2016 election, Dr. Holland Sims was called in to provide crisis response and consultation to a school and district. Her role was to provide resources to address the tensions, to help them restore the harm, and to prevent future incidents. Since then, she's served 7 years at the state level as a special advisor for equity for the Pennsylvania Department of Education, PDE, and as an educational consultant for the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network, PATN. In that role, Dr. Holland Sims was instrumental as one of the architects in the launching of the PDE Equitable Practices Hub, a virtual web platform for school teams to promote intentional equity in their communities. She recently has been appointed as the Pennsylvania Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for the Pennsylvania Department of Education. In scholarship and service, Dr. Holland Sims is a credible, engaging, and effective leading presenter on the topic of equity in schools. She's presented on topics such as equitable practices through a trauma-informed lens and using PBIS to ensure equity in school discipline. She effectively models how to talk about race and systematic oppression candidly and sensitively. As her colleague, Dr. Jason Peterson, has said about her, she's artful in her ability to develop allies and to leverage best practices to support anti-racist work. Dr. Amber Sessoms, friend, colleague, and Pennsylvania School Psychologist of the Year, has said her public impact is pervasive as she strategically ensures stakeholders do not just engage in check-the-box trainings. Sessoms adds that Dr. Holland Sims' own life experience as a Black woman navigating predominantly white spaces contributes to her insights regarding all minoritized students and their lived experiences, which gives her further clarity and resolve to center their voices and prioritize their needs. Dr. Helen Sims continues her equity advocacy and scholarly writing as well, such as the Equity Fill-Up for School Psychologists, an article in the Pennsylvania Psychological Association monthly magazine, The Pennsylvania Psychologist. She's also co-authored a NASP handout on implicit bias. And recently, she was invited a lead author on the chapter titled MTSS as a Social Justice Intervention in the forthcoming Oxford Handbook of Social Justice in School Psychology. Dr. Holland Sims sees this work not only as a job, but as a calling. And she's unquestionably an influential change agent for social justice and anti-racism in school psychology. It is my honor and my privilege to introduce her as the deserving recipient of the APA Division 16 Emerging Professional for Outstanding Commitment to Anti-Racism in School Psychology Award. Congratulations, Dr. Holland Sims.
Hello, my name is Dr. Nicole Holland Sims, and I am so pleased, humbled, and honored to be in receipt of the 2021 APA Anti-Racism Emerging Professional Award. It is truly an honor and a blessing to have this honor bestowed upon me. I feel as though the work that I have done and will continue to do is not about me. However, it's about the young people that I have hoped to serve in the time that I've been able to. I often think of my mom and my dad who instilled in me values that spoke about humility and servant leadership. and thinking about never growing weary in well-doing, for in due time we will reap if we faint not. And I hold that close. The young people that I serve, the communities that I serve, the families that I serve, they need and deserve quality. And so my goal is to provide that in the best way that I know how. And through systems level thinking, which I find school psychologists to be the best at, I know that we can achieve that. And so I would like to thank Dr. Lauren Kaiser from the Millersville University for the nomination. Go Marauders. I thank Millersville for the foundation of school psychology in my heart. I also would like to thank Dr. Amber Sessoms and Dr. Jason Peterson for the letters of support that they wrote on behalf of me. And I couldn't be more thrilled than to call them friends and colleagues. And lastly, as I think about my own family, I want to thank my baby boy, CJ, who is 3 and has become my why. I also want to thank my husband, Ronald C. Sims, who is truly the wind beneath my wings. And lastly, I would like to dedicate this award to my mother and my father, who really put so much into me that I can never repay. Thank you, everyone.
It is my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Sherry Proctor as the inaugural recipient of the APA Division 16 Outstanding Commitment to Anti-Racism in School Psychology Award as a committed professional. Words do not do justice to the impact that Dr. Proctor has made in the advancement of anti-racism in the field of school psychology. From the time that Dr. Proctor was a graduate student herself, she has embodied the essence of anti-racism. As noted by Dr. Leandra Paris, reflecting on the time she was a fellow graduate student at Georgia State University with Dr. Proctor, she notes, although she was a couple of cohorts above me, her presence was felt by the entire program across all years. From being awarded the first NAS or Minority Scholarship to her work focused on experiences of racially, ethnically marginalized students in school psychology, she was legendary. Fast forwarding to some years later, Dr. Paris writes about Dr. Proctor's instrumental leadership of NAS Social Justice Committee in her letter co-signed by the Social Justice Committee members. Dr. Paris comments, from its inception, Dr. Proctor has played a critical role in shaping the Social Justice Committee and its impact on NAS in the field of school psychology. Many of our initiatives, the National Book Read, significant numbers of communique articles were largely facilitated by Dr. Proctor, who ensured their success through her persistence and diligence. Dr. Proctor's sustained research and scholarship in anti-racism is illuminating and advancing the field of school psychology in immeasurable ways. Dr. Angela Mann at the University of North Florida comments, in her scholarship, Dr. Proctor has recently co-edited the first book I am aware of in our field devoted to critical race theory. Dr. Proctor is also co-editing the 7th edition of Best Practices in School Psychology. Her influence has already led to a theme across all best practices chapters, centering issues of equity and social justice. Dr. Mann continues, Dr. Proctor has a decade of work, 22 manuscripts, 2 books, 7 book chapters, 2 encyclopedia entries, and numerous presentations, media appearances, and articles in professional newsletters. These bodies of literature have spanned topics including supporting Black students exposed to police violence, addressing white privilege and consultation and systems change, interventions for reducing ethnic prejudice, strategies for supporting and retaining students from diverse backgrounds, addressing microaggressions toward advancing racial justice, addressing racial disproportionality and identification and discipline practices, culturally responsive assessment practices and supervision practices, using an intersectional lens for addressing marginalization and discrimination, and so much more, all within the realm of anti-racism with school psychology, Dr. Mann concludes. One of Dr. Proctor's many, many gifts is her ability to engage and mentor others, Colleagues speak of her enormous capacity for giving and her ethic of care. Dr. Amanda van der Heijden articulates this. She does it all: publishing, editing, speaking, organizing, writing policy documents. But to me, her most extraordinary gift is her mentoring of the next generation of school psychologists. For those who know her, they know that engaging with Dr. Proctor makes you want to be a better scholar, to ask better questions, to consider new angles, and to do something about injustices, concludes Dr. van der Heijden. Dr. Angela Mann expresses similar sentiments in her letter that she wrote. I often wonder how Sherry has the capacity to be so giving, caring to so many early career scholars like myself, and also manage to be such a well-respected leader and prolific scholar with such a significant impact on our field in terms of anti-racism and social justice. Dr. Proctor's mentorship extends beyond graduate students and early career scholars at her university to individuals literally across the country. Her giving spirit and time, an undue burden and emotional labor for her as a BIPOC individual is shadow work that has resulted in support of BIPOC professionals and others who would otherwise likely leave the field or not stay in it. Dr. Proctor has had and continues to make a profound influence on each of us as current and future school psychologists, faculty, as well as the P-12 students she served directly as a former practitioner in the Atlanta metro area, in Philadelphia, and now indirectly as a current faculty member at Queens College. Our field and world is a better place because you are in it, Dr. Proctor. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Sherry Proctor as she received this well-deserved award. Thank you.
Thank you to Division 16 of the American Psychological Association for honoring my work with one of the first annual Commitment to Anti-Racism in School Psychology Awards. I truly appreciate the labor of the selection committee, who I'm sure had a very difficult task given other colleagues who are doing exemplary anti-racist work in the field. I want to specifically name and honor Dr. Stacy Williams, who I share this space and this award with. I would like to say congratulations to outstanding student Maria Tanaka and also emerging professional Dr. Nicole Holland Sims, who won this award in their respective categories. Dr. Pam Finning put forth my nomination, and I'm forever grateful to her and the work she put in to gather letters of support and to organize my nomination. Thank you to the colleagues who wrote letters of support for this nomination. I'm humbled to work side by side in this field with you as we work to make this field, as well as educational institutions, more just and anti-racist spaces and places for the children, the families, as well as the communities that we serve. Finally, I would like to thank my personal and professional family who keep me grounded. Robert, my husband, Bria and Brendan, my wonderful children, and my Queens College, City University of New York, school psychology faculty and students. I really appreciate the way you root for me and that how you have always supported my work. Once again, thank you to Division 16. I'm truly honored and humbled and grateful to receive this award.
It is an honor to introduce Benjamin Paley as the 2021 Division 16 Outstanding Dissertation Award winner. Ben is currently completing his internship with the APA-accredited Hawaii Psychology Internship Consortium in Kauai, after which he will earn his PhD in educational psychology from the University of Texas at Austin. I'd like to thank Ben's dissertation committee, Drs. Nathan Clemens, David Osman, Jessica Oblenis, and Cindy Carlson for their support and guidance in shaping Ben's study and their support of Ben throughout this process. The Outstanding Dissertation Award is given to a school psychology student who has completed a dissertation which merits special recognition and which has the potential to contribute to the science and practice of school psychology. Speaking for Ben's other nominator, Dr. Clemens, and his dissertation committee, we were all ecstatic to learn that the award committee agreed with us that Ben's dissertation was deserving of this prestigious honor. The potential of Ben's work to contribute to the science and practice of school psychology stems from the blueprint that his dissertation might provide for future researchers and practitioners in the use of cost-effectiveness analysis to evaluate schools' universal screening procedures. Screening is an essential part of multi-tiered systems of support in reading, systems that require a substantial amount of resources. Screening may be one area where schools are, quote unquote, overspending those resources. Ben's work went well beyond how researchers have typically captured the cost of screening, such as recording the time dedicated to the assessment, to more comprehensively capture all of the costs associated with collecting screening data. Ben was able to derive these costs by interviewing district personnel and then estimate how the costs differed across several different models of screening, all of which have been recommended in the literature. The results showed the additional cost per student who would be correctly classified as proficient or non-proficient on the Texas statewide achievement test in reading. Ben's dissertation was one of, if not the first, to apply a cost-effectiveness analysis for evaluating school-based universal screening procedures to predict academic risk. As such, Ben had to wrestle with a number of decisions of how to apply cost-effectiveness analysis to diagnostic or classification accuracy results. For example, I encouraged Ben to use diagnostic odds ratios as his effect size for the screening procedures. However, Ben found citations in the literature suggesting how the use of odds ratios within this CEA context would less likely to be interpretable by users. I share this example because I very much appreciated how Ben would always keep practitioners and educational decision makers in mind when making his choices about his analysis. Using the well-established CEA framework in such a novel fashion was certainly not without challenges, but Ben continuously strived to ensure that his findings would be easily consumable and serve as a straightforward model for others to conduct a similar analysis based on the information that schools would already have on hand regarding their screening procedures. Working with Ben on this project and serving as his dissertation advisor was a pleasure. I'm grateful I had an opportunity to play such a small role in this process, and I am sure that I speak for all of the faculty at UT Austin when saying how proud we are of Ben. Congratulations, Ben, on winning this prestigious award and completing your dissertation. Job well done.
Hi, all. I'm very pleased to be with you today virtually. I'm humbled to receive this award and want to thank the members of Division 16 for taking the time to consider my work. I'd also like to thank my advisor, Dr. David Klingbeil, for his continued support of this project. He's been so generous with his time and accumulated knowledge, and this project certainly would not have come to fruition without his ongoing support. And I want to particularly shine light on his efforts to build partnerships between our university and our local school communities. Provided a wonderful example of what this type of collaboration can look like, and it's certainly something that I'll carry forward with me in my career. He also handled the transition to a new university with grace, and I really couldn't have asked for more in an advisor. So I'm just beginning my internship with the Hawaii Psychology Internship Consortium, and I'm optimistic that I can bring the lessons that I've learned through this project to my applied work in the school system. So thank you again for the recognition of my work. It means a lot to me, and for the opportunity to be with you all today.
It is with great excitement that I get to introduce to you Dr. Stacey Ann January as one of the 2021 Leitner-Whitmer Award winners. Throughout graduate school, Stacey Ann established personal goals, developed a list of the tasks that need to be accomplished to achieve those goals, and then set forth to achieve them regardless of the personal sacrifices and challenges that she faced. Other graduate students began establishing expectations for themselves based upon Stacey Ann's work. Although few achieved their level of success, the productivity of our program increased while Stacey Ann was a graduate student at UGA due to her leadership. Stacey Ann did not decide to pursue academia until late in her graduate career, and thus she set forth goals during her postdoc to improve her statistical and writing skills, and of course she achieved those goals. During her postdoc, I was in need of someone to provide a review for a manuscript and decided that it fell in Stacy's wheelhouse. The review returned to me was nothing like any review I had received from someone early in their career. As always, Stacy Ann went all out. Not only did she provide exceptional critical feedback for the authors, but she actually reran some of the statistics for the authors that they had performed incorrectly. From that point forward, I regularly relied on her as a reviewer. Based upon her performance as a guest reviewer, in 2015 as a postdoc, Stacy Ann was asked to be on the School Psychology Review editorial board, and soon after was asked to serve as a guest associate editor. By 2016, she was on the editorial board of 2 other journals, and the same year and again in 2017 won the Editorial Appreciation Award from School Psychology Quarterly. In 2017, she was also awarded Review of the Year for School Psychology Review. And in 2018, with only 2 years of experience as an assistant professor, became an associate editor for School Psychology Review. Due to her outstanding work as an associate editor, in 2020, she was recognized for her service to School Psychology Review, this time as an outstanding associate editor, and the same year was recognized as runner-up for the Review of the Year by the Journal of School Psychology. During Stacy Ann's first year as an assistant professor, I asked her if she would be willing to write a chapter with me. Luckily for me, she accepted, and I discovered just how much her writing had improved. Not only were my comments on her section extremely minimal, but the edits that she made of the sections that I wrote were quite extensive. I like to say that it was that day that the mentee became the mentor, but Stacy Ann knows that there were often times in graduate school that she was serving as my mentor. Due to her exceptional research, statistical, and writing skills, Stacy Ann averaged 5.4 publications per year from 2016 to 2020. Stacy Ann has also provided extensive national leadership to our field. She is currently serving as co-chair of the School Psychology Research Collaboration Conference and just ended her term as chair-elect, chair, and past chair of the APA Division 16 Early Career Psychologist Work Group. Previously, she served as a member of the APA Division 16 Webinar Committee, Paul E. Hinken Student Travel Award Committee, and chair of the Early Career Psychologist Work Group. Congratulations, Stacy Ann. I am so proud of you. The field of school psychology is so lucky to have someone of your intelligence, skill, and work ethic.
Thank you, Scott, for that wonderful introduction. I'm deeply honored and grateful to have been selected to receive the 2021 Leitner Whitmer Early Career Award from Division 16 of APA. It is humbling that my scholarship has been recognized for its impact on the field of school psychology. However, the success that I have had has not been entirely on my own. There have been many individuals who have been involved along the way. First and foremost, I would like to thank my wonderful husband and my family. I would not be the professional I am today without their enduring love and support for my education and career. A big thank you to my colleague and friend, Scott Arduin, for your mentorship and for nominating me for this award. I'm so glad I made the decision 12 years ago to attend UGA for graduate school. I would also like to extend my appreciation to the researchers with whom I've collaborated over the years. Research is better and more fun with collaborators, and I have been fortunate to have had some great ones, one of whom is the co-recipient of this award this year. I would also like to thank the graduate and undergraduate students with whom I've conducted research. Additionally, I would like to thank the award committee for considering my nomination and for the awesome individuals who wrote letters of support on my behalf. Finally, and importantly, I would like to acknowledge that none of this work would have been possible without the many students, teachers, and caregivers that have participated in the research I've conducted. Thank you. I'm especially grateful to the students I had the joy of teaching and their families, as it was my time as a teacher that inspired me to go to graduate school and conduct research in these areas. Again, I am deeply honored, and thank you for this award.
Hello, I'm George Dupal, Professor of School Psychology at Lehigh University. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce this year's co-recipient of the APA Division 16 Leitner Whitmer Award, Dr. Ethan Van Norman, Associate Professor of School Psychology at Lehigh University. Ethan was nominated for this award by Dr. Jim Eiseldike, Professor Emeritus in the School Psychology program at the University of Minnesota, and myself for many reasons. First, and most importantly, Dr. Van Norman has a multifaceted research agenda that aims to improve A, the screening of students at risk for academic difficulties, B, methods to measure student response to instruction, and C, capacity of educators to interpret and use data to make instructional decisions. As such, his research has significantly advanced the field in terms of reliable, valid, and effective data-based instructional delivery for students in the greatest educational need. Thus, his work lies at the heart of our mission as school psychologists, that is, to enhance learning outcomes for all students. A second reason for our nomination is that Dr. Van Norman has been an extraordinarily productive early career scholar based on all academic metrics. Specifically, Ethan has co-authored 51 articles in peer-reviewed journals, with 28 of those articles published in the past 3 years. The latter represents a phenomenal rate of productivity, averaging over 9 peer-reviewed articles per year. I've often joked with Ethan that I can't remember the last time I picked up an issue of one of our major school psychology journals without seeing at least one article that he's authored in that issue. Thus, not only is he phenomenally productive, but he's publishing work that is of superior quality in top-tier journal outlets, with 33 of his publications appearing in one of the 3 major journals in school psychology. In addition, Dr. Van Norman has been very active in disseminating his research to the field via over 50 presentations at major national conferences, most notably APA and NASP. Dr. Van Norman has also been very active and successful regarding external grant funding. He is principal investigator or co-principal investigator on 2 research grants from the Institute of Education Sciences, a training grant from the Office of Special Education Programs with the U.S. Department of Education, and an early career research grant from the Society for the Study of School Psychology. Another reason for our nomination is that beyond his exceptional track record of significant scholarship, Dr. Van Norman has been highly involved in advancing school psychology research through a variety of service activities. He is a member of 4 journal editorial boards, including the 3 top school psychology journals, that is Journal of School Psychology, and School Psychology Review. He's very involved in leadership and service to major professional organizations in our field. For example, he's the founder and chair of the Early Career Faculty Interest Group for NASP. He's a member of the NASP Research Committee, a member at large and contributor to the Early Career Forum for the Society for the Study of School Psychology. His leadership of various early career support activities is particularly noteworthy in the context of his receipt of the Leitner-Whitmer Award. In closing, Dr. Van Norman has an extraordinary track record of both quantity and quality of scholarly work that has significantly contributed to the science and practice of school psychology. Further, his recent publication trajectory, as noted previously, 28 articles in the past 3 years, combined with multiple research grants, as well as manuscripts and studies in the pipeline, provides strong evidence that his work exemplifies the Leitner-Whitmer Award criteria of demonstrating, quote, exceptional potential and promise to contribute knowledge and professional insights that are of uncommon and extraordinary quality, end quote. So congratulations to Dr. Ethan Van Norman for his receipt of the 2021 APA Division 16 Leitner-Whitmer Award.
Hello, I'm Ethan Van Norman, Associate Professor of School Psychology at Lehigh University. I'm honored to accept the Leitner-Whitmer Award from Division 16 this year. I'm extremely grateful to George DePaul and Jim Eiseldike for coordinating the nomination process. I'm also thankful to those that wrote me letters of support. In addition, I'm grateful to the committee who carried out the selection process, because I'm sure that is not an easy task given how talented all the researchers are in our field. Throughout my career, I've had many moments of crippling self-doubt, from getting dismissed from a professional training job during graduate school because I was said to not know enough about curriculum-based measurement, receiving an email admonishing my research from a senior scholar when I reached out for them for career advice after presenting on a symposium with them, or being accused of poaching ideas from my first year as an assistant professor from a senior scholar whom I deeply admired. Although I feel that getting tenure this year and receiving this award validates my capacity as a researcher, it doesn't have to be this way. Within our field, the ultimate goal is to help children and folks that support them. This endeavor we call research is a great tool to accomplish that. It should not be a mechanism to increase our own wealth or ego. The sooner we realize that we're in this together and that a rising tide lifts all ships, we'll be much better off as a field. Fortunately, I had plenty of examples of individuals who modeled this mindset, many of whom helped shape who I am today. I already mentioned George and Jim, but they are worth mentioning again. At Illinois State, I was mentored by Glenn Reeder, who never hesitated to give me time to work through ideas, which I realize now is our most precious commodity. At the University of Minnesota, in addition to Jim, Amanda Sullivan, Sandy Christensen, Annie Hansen-Burke, and Matt Burns were all folks that I aspired to be. My cohort mates Laura, Joe, Abby, and Thomas modeled the value of collaboration over competition. I wouldn't be where I am today without falling into an incredible first appointment as a junior faculty member. The folks at Georgia State University, Catherine Perkins, Andy Roach, Steve Truscott, Chris Vargas, and Joel Myers, all gave up a lot so that I could focus on my research. They also gave me the confidence to believe that I was good enough for academia. Most importantly, if I hadn't gone to Atlanta, I would never have met the love of my life, and I wouldn't be able to dedicate this award to my son, Calvin. Both of them taught me that there is a world outside of my office walls. George DePaul convinced me to apply to the open position at Lehigh, a university I didn't bother applying to for graduate school because I didn't think I'd get in. I know I'll never fill the shoes of Ed Shapiro, the person that held my position before me, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to do so. Finally, I want to thank all the folks I've had the pleasure of working with for bringing me onto their projects. Many of my co-authors started out as colleagues and became lifelong friends, including the co-recipient Stacy Ann January. But I'll always be indebted to David Klingbeil and Peter Nelson for giving me the friendship to see through the tough times. In closing, I want to reiterate how humbled I am to be joining the company of the other Littmer-Whitmer Award winners. My goal now is to mentor my students so that they too can be in a position to accept such prestigious awards in the near future. Thank you.
High school psychology colleagues, Randy Camphouse here. I have the pleasure of introducing this year's winner of the Tom Oakland Mid-Career Research Award, Laura Lee McIntyre from my institution, the University of Oregon. Laura Lee is beyond deserving of this recognition. The quality and quantity of her work is impressive. For example, she has published 67 journal articles, and she has proven herself an extraordinary research mentor because about half of these journal articles include students as co-researchers and co-authors, and about 20% include early career faculty members. In addition, the quality of her work has been recognized by peer review at the highest levels of federal research. She has received grants from NIMH, NICHD, and IES, totaling more than $19 million in sponsored research. These accomplishments as a researcher are extraordinary on their own. In addition, however, Laura Lee is an unusually strong contributor to the leadership of her university. There are very few of us, for example, that can say that we spent 2 terms on the board of trustees of their institution. So, good for Laura Lee. I'm so proud of her. I'm so pleased to have her as a colleague, and I'm so pleased to be part of the same discipline as her. Congratulations, Laura Lee, on winning this award.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Lee McIntyre, and thank you, Randy, for that lovely introduction and for the nomination. It's just an honor to be the 2021 recipient of the APA Division 16 Tom Oakland Mid-Career Scholarship Award. I consider Division 16 my home, and it is wonderful to see my work being acknowledged and honored in this way. Back in the day when I received my PhD, I had 3 really instrumental mentors who shaped my scholarship and really shaped how I see myself as a school psychologist and a professional in the field. I had Frank Gresham as a school psychology mentor, Jan Blatcher as a special education mentor, and Bruce Baker as a child clinical psychology mentor. And these 3 disciplines, I think, have really interwoven and influenced my scholarship, but also my identity as a psychologist in the field. My work really is at the periphery of school psychologists in a sense. And my mentors, especially Frank, if you know Frank, you know he's kind of a rule breaker. He encouraged me to color outside of the lines and be me and do what at the time was a little outside of the bounds of traditional kind of school psychology. So my work in early childhood and early childhood special education, work with families, really developing those partnerships between families and schools and communities and healthcare at the time. And even now is a little bit less mainstream school psychology, although that's changing, of course, with many folks in the field recognizing the value of those partnerships and working with families early on and creating the relationships that will promote school outcomes and family and school partnerships. My work has also really focused on children with and at risk for developmental disabilities, including autism spectrum disorder. And I've been interested in evaluating some family-centered interventions that promote positive outcomes for these children, particularly reducing family stress, increasing family engagement with schools, and reducing the risk for mental health problems in these children and youth with developmental disabilities. I wish we could be here in person at the APA convention and celebrating in person, but we'll have to wait until next year. Again, I thank you, APA Division 16, for this honor and hope to see you all soon.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Valley Gray, and it's my honor to introduce Dr. Philip Lazarus, who is the 2021 recipient of the Jack Barton Award. My job is to try to capture 40 years in 4 minutes, so here goes. There are 3 primary areas that I want to focus on in terms of Phil's 40-year career. First is his professional association advocacy, service, and leadership. Second, I'll talk a little bit about his scholarly contributions to the specialty area of school psychology. And finally, I'll talk about his students and his impact on school psychology training. First, in the area of professional association advocacy, service, and leadership, Phil has made contributions at the local, state, and national levels. Locally, he almost single-handedly saved the jobs of over 40 school psychologists due to his advocacy efforts in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. He organized a coalition when a school district failed to offer their commitment to fund paid internships. And he petitioned his university to ensure that all of his students who were on an internship were able to receive the COVID-19 vaccine to ensure that they would be protected while providing services. At the state level, Phil was president of our state association, the Florida Association of School Psychologists, and served in a number of different positions as chair of the ethics committee, private practice, training and credentialing, and he also established the public policy committee. He's a founding member of the FAST Children's Services Fund, which is the charity arm of the Florida Associations of School Psychologists. He established the Florida Emergency Assistance Team in response to the hurricanes and tornadoes across our state. And he's the chair and founding member of the Board of Examiners in School Psychology for the state of Florida. His work on this committee resulted in one of the strongest private practice credentials at the specialist level across our country. Finally, he was awarded the Willard Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award from FAST for his dedication and leadership. Nationally, Phil is a past chairperson and founder of the National Emergency Assistance Team, or the NEAT team of NASP. The NEAT team has provided direct crisis assistance in the aftermath of school shootings and disasters across our nation. Phil has provided crisis assistance in the aftermath of tragic shootings in over 20 schools across our country, natural disasters like tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, and floods, and he led the crisis response for NASP following Hurricane Katrina, the Gulf oil spill, and in response to 911. In recognition of this work, Phil was awarded the NASP Presidential Award and the Certificate of Appreciation for his outstanding service and his coordination of the responses following Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. He was also honored by the NEAT team with the Dare to Dream Award for his crisis response leadership. Bill has consulted with the FBI in their landmark study on profiling school shooters and has conducted psychological evaluations on targeted school shooters. Oh, and by the way, he was also NAS president. In the area of scholarly productivity and contributions to the specialty area, Bill has worked to help shape training and practice in school psychology. Bill authored NASP's President's Call to Action to Prevent Youth Suicide. His work with Frank Zanier in the area of suicide prevention is considered the only study that shows promising evidence for educational clinical significance to the Task Force on Evidence-Based Interventions in School Psychology. He's written more than a dozen book chapters, over 36 scholarly articles, given more than 200 presentations at the national and international levels, and more than 20 keynote speeches at state school psychology conferences. Bill has been interviewed by a number of news sources, including CNBC, Newsweek, The Washington Post, The Reader's Digest, and NPR. He is the co-editor of the following books: Psychoeducational Evaluation of Children and Adolescents with Low Incidence Handicaps, Best Practices in School Crisis Prevention and Intervention, Creating Safe and Supportive Schools, Fostering the Emotional Well-Being of Youth, a School-Based Approach, and Safe Schools Now, Leadership for Developing Secure, Supported, and Emotionally Healthy Students. And speaking of students, this is what really makes Bill come alive. It's truly his commitment to his students and school psychology training. In 1978, Bill was the first program director for the school psychology program at Florida International University. It was the first program in South Florida. At the time, he was the only faculty member and served as their only faculty member for a number of years until really only recently. Bill has supervised and mentored over 400 diverse graduate students at the specialist level who have gone on to serve the public schools. And the letters that his students write about him are beautiful. They describe him as being passionate about helping others. He's selfless, driven, and modest. And they describe him as a role model who's taught them what it is to be a true mentor. And you really see this when you see Bill interacting with his students. He beams with pride at their accomplishments, and he loves serving in his role as mentor. Bill is an extremely responsible, skilled person who is highly dependable and has outstanding professional competence. He's well-liked, admired by everyone who knows him, but he's not full of himself. He is truly an outstanding representative of school psychology and puts the well-being of others before his own. Today, we celebrate Jack Barton because Dr. Barton spoke from a principled, reasoned, and honest perspective on what's best for our profession and our children. And I can honestly say that that's how we feel about Phil. His work reflects a drive to make a difference in the lives of children and in the specialty area of school psychology. Congratulations, Phil.
Thank you, Sarah, for this kind introduction. I am very humbled by this honor. A wise school psychologist once said, "School psychology is a team specialty. Distinguished service is not a sole enterprise. It requires collaboration with colleagues and the support of family and friends. We don't do this alone. We are part of a collective, not just of our generation, but of those who preceded us and those who will eventually follow us. As such, I'd like to thank all members of my NEAT family, my FIU former colleagues and current colleagues, members of the FASP and NAS leadership teams, and all my friends at Nova Southeastern University, which includes a shout out to Sarah, who sponsored me for this award. And a special thanks to all those who I've written or edited books with and articles, and the more than 400 graduates of our FIU school psychology program. who taught me how to both nurture and lead. As a leader, I've learned a few lessons. First, leadership involves creating a sense of belongingness, fostering a sense of purpose, and emphasizing the power of possibilities. Second, never serve because you want to be a leader. Instead, serve to do the job. Third, leadership requires persistent advocacy in service of an important calling, a purpose. And my most consistent efforts in this regard have been advocating for the emotional well-being of our nation's youth. And fourth, leadership is about helping to create a shared vision and nurturing others by doing things both big and small. We award the big accomplishments, but the small is just as meaningful. Years ago, at FIU, I established the Patty Del Valle Humanitarian Award in honor of a faculty member who had sadly passed away. Our faculty and students vote on a student who they feel best exemplifies her spirit. This past year, one of my nominees was a student who I thought was underappreciated, and later sent comments back to all the nominated students. The underappreciated student then wrote me back, not knowing that I was the one who nominated her and provided my reasons. And she said, I read this email and I cried. I'd like to say thank you for sending this. I worked so hard and often feel unseen. I greatly appreciate notes like these. You always make school seem like such a nice place to be. It's been my safe house. It's been a harbor in the midst of COVID-19, and I superbly appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do. And related to a thank you, I would like to thank Division 16 for this honor, but most of all, I'd like to thank my dear wife, Jane, who's always been my guardian spirit.
Greetings from Williamsburg, Virginia. I am Bruce Bracken, and it is an incredible honor to introduce Dr. R. Steve McCallum, the 2021 APA Division 16 Contributions to Practice Award recipient. I've known Steve for more than 40 years and attest to his strong character, impressive stature in the fields of psychology and education, and the exceptional quality of his contributions to his students, the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, state, national, and international professional organizations, and his meaningful contributions to the literature that have profoundly shaped the practice of school psychology. Steve is currently a professor of school psychology in the College of Education, Health, and Human Sciences at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, where he has been since 1986. During this time, Steve has served in a number of roles, including school psychology program director, head of educational psychology and counseling department, interim associate dean of the college, co-founder and chair of the APA accredited Tennessee Internship Consortium, and mentor to scores of doctoral students. Steve has received numerous awards from the University of Tennessee, such as the Chancellor's Research and Creative Achievement Award and the Dean's Leadership Award. Steve is being honored today for his many substantial and impactful contributions to the field and practice of school psychology. Most germane to the contributions to practice award criteria, Dr. McCallum has had a substantive and distinctive record of scholarship that directly informs practice, and particularly to equitable and fair assessment practices for disenfranchised students. While many faculty publish books, few have the distinction of writing and disseminating multiple editions of their work. As an indication of the care, diligence, and practice focus with which Dr. McCallum works, two of his books are in the second edition: the Handbook of Nonverbal Assessment, which he edited, and the Handbook of Reading Assessment, which he co-authored. Importantly, one of Steve's most significant and enduring contributions to the field of school psychology was co-founding the Journal of Psychoeducational Assessment. one of the most respected journals in psychological and educational assessment. He served as co-editor of JPA from the journal's inception in 1983 until 2004, and he currently serves as a consulting editor. In addition to his practice-oriented books and contributions to JPA, Steve has authored or co-authored several tests, most notably the Universal Nonverbal Intelligence Test, which is in its second edition. The Unit and Unit 2 are commonly used individual tests of intelligence designed to provide a fair and equitable cognitive assessment for students for whom language-loaded instruments would compromise valid estimates of ability. In addition, Steve co-authored the Universal Talented and Gifted Screener and the Unit Group Abilities Test. He is currently co-authoring the Test of Dyslexia, now under contract with Western Psychological Services. However, please do not take my word alone for Steve's considerable contributions to psychological practice. Steve's major professor, Dr. Alan Kaufman, wrote that Steve, quote, was elected as a fellow of 2 divisions of the APA, Divisions 1 and 16, and designated as a distinguished alumnus by both the University of Georgia and the Georgia Southern University. I wholeheartedly concur with these affirmations of Steve's vital contributions to the field. I proudly add my name to those who recognize Steve's many excellent scholarship and administrative contributions, and take incredible pride in having served as his mentor back in the 1970s. He is a superstar as both a person and professional who is so well deserving of this prestigious award, end quote. University of Georgia classmate Cecil Reynolds added, quote, I enthusiastically support the nomination of Dr. R. Steve McCallum. I've known Steve since 1976 as a classmate and colleague. During that 4-decade acquaintance, I have followed Steve's career and his steady 41-year record of powerful contributions to school psychology, contributions that specifically encourage and support sound psychological and educational practice, end quote. Dr. Nancy Mather praised Steve's research as having, quote, focused on important and innovative topics that are often underexplored or overlooked, end quote. Importantly, Nancy noted that not only has Steve addressed these important issues, but he has also proposed viable solutions for them. Dr. Leah Theodore summed up the magnitude of Steve's contributions by concluding, quote, Steve is undoubtedly committed to the welfare of children and adolescents and to seeing school psychology continue its development as a helping profession. His contributions to practice are immeasurable, end quote. As Steve's former classmate, colleague, nominator, and friend of more than 40 years, I'm extremely pleased and proud to introduce this year's outstanding and most deserving recipient of the division's Contributions to Practice Award, my friend, Dr. R. Steve McCallum.
First, I want to take this opportunity to thank the APA Division 16 Contributions to Practice Awards Committee, and particularly Dr. Francie Crapo Hobson, who coordinated the awards process. I know how much time, energy, and effort is required, and I want to communicate that I accept the award humbly and with gratitude. I realize that there were many deserving candidates. Another goal I have is to express my appreciation to all those who contributed to my professional and personal growth over 40-odd years in the field. Not one of us is an island, and if we are successful, it's because we stand on the shoulders of those who inspire and support us. During my career as a practicing psychologist in schools, mental health settings, and higher education as a school psychology trainer and a higher education administrator, and as a part-time private practitioner, I've been incredibly blessed to have worked with excellent colleagues and students. This award is a tribute to them. My scholarship efforts have focused on creating assessment instruments, making better academic, social, emotional interventions, then summarizing the results of my work in books and journal articles. The professional journey actually began in graduate school, as it does for all of us, first at Georgia Southern University, then at the University of Georgia, where I met many lifelong colleagues and friends, such as Dr. Bruce Bracken, who's been a collaborator on many, many projects, but much more than that, a collaborator and friend like no other. I have maintained relationships with many others I met while at UGA, such as Jack Naglieri, Cecil Reynolds, Jack Cummings, Patty Harrison, Randy Camphouse, Terry Ledford, and many more. And of course, I was influenced positively by Dr. Alan Kaufman, who guided my dissertation and from whom I learned some of life's most valuable lessons. When I arrived at UGA in 1976 to pursue the PhD, I was a cocky postmaster's degree school psychometrist who had worked already for about 3 years in Georgia and assumed that UGA had little else to teach me. During my entering interview, I told Dr. Burt Richmond, the program coordinator at the time, that I anticipated finishing the PhD in 2 years. His reply, "If you do, you will be the first." Then over the next 3+ years, I proceeded to learn how little I actually knew. Over the years, I've been fortunate to make many new collaborators and friends, such as Chris Skinner, Don Dickinson, Mary Lee McCurdy, Bob Williams, Leah Theodore, Nancy Mather, and many more. And of course, I have to salute the many students I taught and with whom I have collaborated over the years, too many to list, but who inspired me to grow professionally. These students and graduates are making the world a better place in schools, private practices, and higher education settings in this country and abroad. And my fondest memories will be of the times I've spent with them. Finally, I have to acknowledge the support of my family, my wife and collaborator on many professional and private endeavors, Dr. Sherry Bell, and our 4 children, their spouses, and grandchildren. They make us proud every day. Sherry's creative and thoughtful contributions to our many shared activities always makes the outcomes better. To these and to the many others who remain unnamed, but are so appreciated, I thank you. This award belongs to all of us.
Hello, my name is Tom Power from Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and University of Pennsylvania. It's an honor for me to share some comments about Dr. Steve Evans, this year's recipient of the Division 16 Senior Scientist Award. I know Steve's work very well and have a good sense of the impact of his research on the field of school psychology. Without doubt, Steve is among the top ADHD intervention researchers in the world. And Steve is the leading expert in psychosocial interventions for adolescents with ADHD. This is a bold claim, but there's a lot of evidence to back it up. Steve's publication record in this area is extraordinary. He's published an enormous number of peer-reviewed journal articles on school interventions for adolescents with ADHD, and most of them are in top-tier journals. Steve has served as principal investigator in numerous large-scale randomized controlled trials funded by the National Institute of Mental Health and the Institute of Education Sciences. In addition, in 2016, Steve was selected to serve on the committee to update guidelines for the assessment and treatment of ADHD. These updated guidelines, which were published in 2019, are having an enormous impact on practice and research in ADHD. In addition, Steve was selected to serve as the lead author for the systematic review of evidence-based interventions for ADHD, published in 2014 and 2018 in the Journal of Clinical Child and Adolescent Psychology. These reviews are very important to the field and have been or will be cited hundreds of times. Steve is also regarded among the top school mental health researchers in the nation and the world. Steve is founding and current editor of School Mental Health, an interdisciplinary journal for researchers and practitioners. This journal is now in its 13th year and has steadily grown to become a leading journal for school psychologists. Steve has been the driving force in organizing the Research Summit for School Mental Health Researchers, which is held on an annual basis at the start of the Advancing School Mental Health Conference. In addition, Steve has been a member of the prestigious Society for the Study of School Psychology. He has served as director of research for this organization from 2016 to 2019 And in this role, he had oversight of all of the research grant competitions sponsored by the organization. Over the years, I have witnessed the tremendous impact Dr. Evans has had on the field. One of Steve's greatest accomplishments has been his mentoring of the next generation of researchers in ADHD and school mental health. So many students and early career scholars across the country seek Steve out for his mentoring. And so many of his mentees have moved on to have enormously successful careers. I know many of his former mentees quite well, and they will tell you they owe much of their success to Dr. Evans. Finally, on a personal note, I can say without question that Steve is an individual of extraordinary character, is on a mission to serve the needs of youth and their families, especially those who are underserved and lacking in resources. The secret to Steve's success as a mentor and an educator is that he is not only a brilliant scholar, but also an engaged, caring, and compassionate person. I'm so pleased that Steve was selected for this prestigious award. The selection committee and division made a great choice. Thanks for allowing me to share my comments.
Thank you, Tom, for that wonderful and generous introduction. I want to start by thanking Division 16 for this incredible honor. As a clinical psychologist and former elementary school special education teacher, I was thrilled to connect with the school psychology research community years ago. I strongly believe that the best way to help youth with emotional and behavior problems is through the schools. Our opportunities to impact their developmental trajectories are unparalleled in any other setting. In addition, many children and adolescents with serious mental health problems do not get to clinics, but they do go to school. I'm sometimes taken aback by clinic-based physicians and clinicians who claim that they work with the children who have the most serious problems, as if those of us in schools do not work with them. Where do you think those children are all day? In addition, doing treatment development work and evaluation research in schools can provide advantages in terms of the diversity of the populations that one can access. A few years ago, we wrote one of the evidence-based practice reviews for the treatment of youth with ADHD for the Journal of Clinical Child and Adolescent Psychology. We examined the parent education levels of the samples used in the studies in the review, as that is a variable that has been found to be associated with treatment response. Interestingly, the percentages of parents with a college education or higher were much higher in treatment studies conducted in clinics than those conducted in schools. In fact, the percentages of parents with a college education or better was near the national average in studies conducted in schools. As a result, I frequently take the opportunity to say that I believe the context in which we have the most potential to impact the futures of children and adolescents with emotional behavior problems is the schools. And I assume, to a large extent, I'm preaching to the choir with this point. That is why, though, I am so grateful that over the years of my career, I've been able to connect with the school psychology research community through Division 16, NASP, and SSSP. It has been a very valuable part of my career. Finally, I want to end by thanking some of the people who helped me be here today. First, I want to thank Tom Power for nominating me, and George DePaul, Sue Sheridan, and Bill Pelham for writing letters of support. That is an impressive group of people, and me receiving this award exemplifies the point that if you hang around with the right people long enough, good things will happen to you. I also want to thank my wife Judy and my family, who are my foundation. And finally, I have been fortunate to have wonderful mentors, colleagues, and students over the years, and my relationships with those people are what keeps this work so fun. Thank you again.